Hello there, Ray here, and today guys, we have a brand new crop farm for you guys, as well as a villager breeder that works in 1.14.4. As you can see behind me, the villagers are just breeding like no other, and this is an updated version of our previous villager breeder farm that I designed for 1.14.3, and since I made some changes, we went ahead and tweaked the farm so it now works once again. And we designed this during our Twitch stream a couple of weeks ago with the viewers, so thank you everyone who came on and joined during the build of this. And if you guys like to participate in those streams, you can find my Twitch link as well as my schedule down below. So I'll be showing you guys how this new villager breeder works, as well as the crop farms which you see behind me. And this way you can automatically farm up tons of different types of crops, as well as breed up as many villagers as you want. Over here is a small example of the villager breeder. This is the same setup that I used in my previous automatic villager breeding designs. What we have is two parent villagers, which are here in the center. They are standing on top of a fence right here. If we pull up F3 plus B, we can see their hitboxes. They're sitting in there, and they're close enough to share crops between each other. Then when each villager parent has 12 crops of each type, they will be able to breed and produce a baby. When the baby is produced, it's going to spawn directly down by their feet, and it's going to then get pushed off to the side and fall between the gap between this fence and this wall over here, and then they'll fall directly down into wherever you want to store them. For the villagers to breed, they both need to have a bed. Plus, they need to have an extra bed for their new baby. So we actually have a function that Fax made for me to show villager information over top of their heads. So if I go ahead and run this function here, giving them all their brain being shown, we can see it's going to show their home, which is essentially the coordinates of their bed. It's going to be the head part of the bed, which is the pillow part here. And you can see that this guy chose a bed that's at wide level 58, so he chose this bed right here. And this other guy in green chose the 57, which is this bed right here. That's a really cool function, and if you guys want to get this in your very own world, I will put the link down in the description. It's really helpful for working with villagers, so if you're doing like villager breeders or iron farms or anything like that, it's really helpful to test and see what's going on. So both these guys got their beds, so all we need is a third bed for their baby, and that bed is going to be either this one or this one. So we actually have 2 extra beds for every 2 pairs of parenting villagers. This is because the villagers are able to breed twice a day, and therefore they're going to produce 2 babies each day. And whenever a baby is born, he's going to take one of these beds as his own. Therefore, if we want to have a second baby villager born, we need to have a 4th bed. Now, after the second baby is born, it's going to start becoming nighttime outside. And when it actually turns night, the baby villagers which have fallen down here will then give up their beds since they think they can no longer actually get to their beds. You can see all these guys once actually had a bed when they're born, but they all have home, and you can see after it there's no information because they gave up their beds. And this way, when it turns morning once again, the parenting village will be able to breed once again because 2 more beds just got freed up because these guys gave up their bed. Now the way we get the villagers to choose a bed of their own is the same as my previous villager breeding design, as we have trapdoors on one side of their pen here. Now, the way mobs work in Minecraft, they think they can walk through the trapdoor. So the villagers think they can walk up on top of the block here, and then on top of this one, and on top of this one, and then get to the beds over here. And they also think they can walk over here, here, and get up here to get to these beds. And because of this, the villagers will actually choose those beds, even though they can't actually walk over there or sleep in them. So the main difference between the old design they had and the new design they have is they changed the way that villagers will pathfind to their beds. So having the beds directly inside of the farm was really nice, as it made the farm super compact. But they actually changed the way villagers pathfind to their beds, which made the previous design no longer work in 1.14.4. So now inside of the farm, you'll see that it's mostly just blocks to keep the villagers from escaping, and we just put the beds off to the side, but they still think they can get to them, as all the trapdoors they think are kind of like air blocks, so they think they can hop past all of them and eventually walk all the way over to their bed. And the way that we automatically feed the villager breeder is we hook it up to a crop farm. That's going to automatically produce whatever types of crops you want to. We're just having carrots being used, so they're dropping carrots in over there, and the carrots are coming over here, and they're just getting aligned to this side, and then they're going to wash down and around and all the way through the entire villager breeder. And once they get to the end, you can either store them or just remove all the extras with lava. And when the carrots come by, or any crop comes by the villager, if they need them, they'll automatically pick them up. So you can see that villager just pulled this carrot off of the water lane, and then we'll pull crops 1 meter away from them. So this villager here will be able to pull crops their way on the edge over here. And this function command that Fax has made can also show you guys the amount of crops that each villager has. So I could go ahead and add all the inventories for all the villagers, and it'll show you exactly how many crops each villager has. So it shows inventory equals, and you can see some numbers there. So it has 57 carrots as well as 64 carrots, and then another stack of 16 carrots. And you can see every single villager and how many crops they have on them. Now, if one of the villagers doesn't have enough crops, you can see that they will actually share crops with each other. So this guy is throwing crops down, and the other villager can pick it up. Now, sometimes one villager will kind of have trouble sharing crops with another villager, but over time they can actually fix it so that they'll both be able to pick up crops and fill up their inventories. And each of them just need to have 12 crops each to produce one baby. And when you're done using the functions, you can also use other commands to remove them. So I can go ahead and remove all that, so it's just easier to see the villagers. Now notice how the villagers don't actually need any professions, so they don't have any workstations, and they don't need any to breed. You just need to have the crops as well as enough beds. Now the way that we got the villagers stored in here is we kind of have them staggered, so we have them one block apart from each other. So that way they're only breeding with the villager right beside them. If we turn on their hitboxes, and the red line is where they see, you see these villagers can't actually see the villagers over here. And therefore they'll just breed with the one right beside them, and they won't have villagers trying to breed across the hall. That way they're also not throwing crops across from each other. When they are breeding, they'll put off the hearts, and then they will eventually produce a baby. And you can see the baby just drops down, and what we have is the same as my old setup. We have some waterways which are able to move baby villagers, and we'll push them all to one area wherever you want to have them. You can have them close to the farm as you want, or as far as you want, don't really matter. Then you can use these guys to produce like more crop farms, or you can produce more villager breeders, or you can use to trade with them. So you take advantage of all the great stuff that the new 1.14 villagers will offer. I did do a whole separate video showing all the different trades that the new 1.14 villagers are able to offer to you in a separate video, which I'll also link down below. And these baby villagers have chosen a set of beds, but they will give them up at night. So you can run this day after day and it'll work consistently. Now you can also auto sleep through the night, since the villagers will only breed during the daytime, and the crop farm only works during the daytime as well. So by your players sleeping away the night, you make the farm twice as fast, as the villagers will be able to breed again once a new day comes around. And villagers are actually able to sleep in their beds before the player is. And this is useful because the baby villagers will actually try to sleep and they won't be able to find their beds, and therefore they will give them up. So that way when you sleep in the bed and it turns daytime again, the beds are already freed up for the next batch of baby villagers. Now the amount of villagers that this produces per hour depends on the size. So this small setup here that I mostly made just for an example to show you guys how to build up your very own has 15 sets of parenting villagers. So this will produce 30 baby villagers per day or 90 baby villagers per hour if you do not sleep away the nights. If you do sleep away all the nights, then it'll produce 180 baby villagers per hour. So that's quite a few villagers just for this small setup here. And you can expand this as much as you want. Just make sure to have 4 beds for every cell. So this cell here, we have 4 beds. This cell here, we have 4 beds. And like this cell here, you can see their 4 beds are over here. So if you want to keep it simple, I would just go ahead and expand it lengthwise to make it really kind of narrow and long. You can also make it wide as well. And you can put the villagers kind of in the zigzag pattern here. And you can build this pretty much out of whatever materials you want to. Just make sure to have trapdoors in the areas that I have them. And you don't need to have ice along the entire thing, as long as the crops can reach the end before despawning, which takes 5 minutes. So I actually have stone here on the bottom, but every time there is a gap, we need to have ice so items can slide across so they can make it to the new water stream. Otherwise, the build is quite simple. You can build it out of similar materials, whatever you have. Just make sure you have fences here and make sure you have some type of wall down here. Otherwise, the villagers can fall between the cracks. And you can use fence gates or signs or banners. I typically don't use signs or banners just because they are tile entities, which just hold a little bit more data and can create lag if you have too many of them. Or fence gates are just normal blocks. And I had the beds stacked too high because the villagers can actually come over here and access this bottom row, and then they can think they can walk on top of this and top of this beds to access the top as well as this row over here, and then they can hop on this as well as this to access the very top. And that way all the beds are used by the villagers. Now you can put the beds anywhere you want, long as the baby villagers can't get to them. So if you want to, you can put them directly above it. You just gotta make sure you give them a pass so they think they can actually get to them, even though they can't. I just put the beds off to the side because that seemed pretty easy. We make sure to put a gap in between them, that way the villagers can't actually sleep in the bed. Otherwise, when they get out of the bed, they're going to end up outside of their little cell. Now, to prevent the villagers from getting struck by lightning, I just went ahead and put in a ceiling above them, about 10 blocks high, and you can make this out of whatever blocks you want to. This just prevents the lightning from going down any farther than these here. Otherwise, if lightning strikes villagers, it will convert them over into witches. And the lightning doesn't even have to directly hit them, it can just hit nearby and it can also convert them. Now last time when I showed my villager breeder, you guys asked about a crop farm. And this crop farm over here was designed by a friend Mir, and I helped him out a little bit. The crop farm design was designed by Mira, also known as Snorlax, and he went through a lot of different designs, testing them all. The best one was this one here. this kind of diamond-shaped crop farm, where he has the farmer in the center and his workstation and crops growing all around him, and then he has a target villager, which is one he's going to throw his crops to. And when he has collected enough crops, he just walk up and stand on the trapdoor and throw the crops towards this guy, but they will hit up against this fence here and then fall down into the water, move over to the side, and then fall all the way down to the bottom. He stacked these in heights of 8 layers, and each of these towers that are 8 layers tall will produce around 1,000 crops per day. This is equivalent to 3,000 crops per hour or 6,000 crops per hour if you're sleeping away the nights using a bed. And he made this really nice world where you have all these command blocks which keep track of the crops, and you can go ahead and try them out yourself if you want to. You can switch the stats over to like show the stats for potatoes or like carrots. You can do different stuff like reset the scoreboard. You can test it. And he also combined this design into a duo design where there's 2 crop farms with a single target villager in the center. And with this setup here, you'll get a 13% increase over this design compared to having 2 of individual designs. And you also use less villagers as they're sharing that villager which is sitting in the center here. And this is actually the crop farm that I'm using to go ahead and feed all their villagers that we have in the villager breeder over here. So with this crop farm producing a little over 2,000 crops per day, it's actually more than what I need for this setup here, since these guys here only need 720 crops per day. So you can make a bigger crop farm and then just collect all the extra, then you'll have a bunch of crops that you can use for other things like trading. Now I will provide a world download to this world so you guys can see exactly how to build it up. It also includes Mira's world download and all his crop farms if you want to look at them in more detail. Now if you do not want a world download to build this up in your very own world, if you want a block by block tutorial, ShadowC will be doing a tutorial on this block for block, so if you guys want to check that out, I'll put the link down in the description to his channel, where you can find the video on it as soon as he uploads it. And he is a fellow Protech member, so be sure to go ahead and subscribe to him. He makes a lot of smaller and simpler farms for Minecraft on his channel. If you guys do enjoy videos about farms that can be done in survival Minecraft, be sure to go ahead and subscribe and hit the notification button. If you guys did find this video interesting, show it with a like as well as share with someone who may need a crop farm or a villager breeder. I'd like to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye!